Good evening, folks. This is Devin Dave, and this is officially the first Factivist report for 2024, even though we're recording it on New Year's Eve, because this will live for the entire week, as we understand this. And tonight, I'm labeling this one Ringing in the New Year by Ringing Out the Fascists. Here's Dave.
Hi. So Deb and I have been doing a lot of planning, deciding what we're going to cover this year. Obviously, we're going to be focusing a ton on elections, a ton on voting out the GOP. But there's a process to this. Before we start talking about the environment, LGBTQ rights, education, everything, taxation, whatever it is, human rights, civil rights, that is our labor rights, by the way, workers' rights. We can't really talk about any of that until we eliminate the head of the snake, which is that snake we're talking about, the orange Cheeto himself, is Donald J. Trump. Okay. So I'm going to start this by saying that the Republican Party has been going down this road for a very long time. And what do you mean by that, Dave? The Republican Party has often put up candidates who were the cult of personality. You saw it with Reagan. You see it with with a lot of the guys, Newt Gingrich, those guys, and we just keep on going down the road. Tea Party people, these cult of personality people. You see a lot of media people. You see even people who didn't make it. Carrie Lake, Mehmet Oz, Herschel Walker. All of these people are cult of personality people.
Right.
Donald J. Trump is one of them. Okay.
He certainly is, because he's certainly not a public servant in any stretch, by any stretch of the imagination.
And one
He's
of
a
the things,
reality TV star. He's a reality television star. Ronald Reagan was an actor. Okay.
but we have gone from Ronald Reagan, who, by the way, would now be considered a rhino. Okay.
Yeah, he was definitely not radical enough for this crew. No.
Right. Who at least, by the way, took a shower, who was considered somewhat charismatic and was a decent speaker, to a man who has been kicked out of restaurants because he smells and he does not care, to a man who has spouted off violent rhetoric on True Social and all of that, to the point where he is now considered ineligible in 2 states to run because he has been seen as, or it's been ruled that he had an insurrection. He's an insurrectionist.
By the way, a couple other little points that people are forgetting, probably because it's not a political case, but he has, for all intents and purposes, been legally called a rapist in the E. Jean Carroll case. Okay? He is not a good guy. He is a misogynist. We are looking at the downfall of the GOP right here. Okay?
And back in the day, Gary Hart with Monkey Business, that sunk his political career. back
exactly.
in the day, you mentioned on a radio show on Howard Stern's show grabbing somebody by the pussy. That would have that would have torpedoed your career.
Right. Yep.
But now it's a completely different ball game. Civility is out the window
Right.
with this, and you see it from Trump all the way down to people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of that.
Right.
So it is a slow but distinct descent into madness.
Right.
So
So
this didn't.
wait a minute. We're forgetting one other example. Uh, Howard Dean laughed.
Oh, right,
Howard Dean laughed the wrong way for the media.
right,
His fucking presidential campaign went right down the goddamn tubes. Give me a break,
right,
people. Okay.
right. And by the way, so where am I at? There we go. There's an article here from Newsweek. This was back from in 2015 when the Trump madness was starting. This is from Nick Gillespie, and this is from February 5th, 2015. Why the GOP falls for hopeless candidates. Remember Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, by the way, is now considered a moderate in the Republican Party? He talked about shoving Ariana Huffington's head in a toilet. Okay.
Now he
And
looks pretty good.
yeah, now he actually looks sane compared to some of these people. Uh, all of this is about cult of personality. Are they qualified? We'll make it up as we go along. Remember Herman Cain? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is this is where we started. It's not about substance, it's about style.
Correct.
So when you go there, what do you get? And by the way, I understand that Deb and we have absorbed so much information. So please, when we chuckle or laugh, it's just as I've said this before, it's a coping mechanism. None of this is funny.
Right.
None of it. It's funny, but it's not
Right.
because it's dangerous as hell.
Right.
And one of the things, there was a Lincoln Project video um, that I can't even show the link to right now because it's hamster whaling on me. Hold on. Let me unshare and then reshare. Uh, so you have the fascist leaders of history, Mussolini, you have Putin, you have Hitler, you have Bolsonaro, whoever it is, Kim Jong Un,
Castro.
Castro, all of these guys, you you take the piss out of them through humor. I understand that, but at the heart of all of this, none of this is funny.
Right.
None of it,
And
because
none of what they did was funny. Okay.
right,
They all rose to power and they all left devastation in their wake. And these are the people that Donald Trump most identifies with.
yep. Let me see. Are you going to let me do it? Come on. There we go. So this is from again, let me explain this. This is from the Lincoln Project, a group that we elevate in the sense of they at least get that Trump is dangerous.
They get that Trump is dangerous. They get that Trump is dangerous to the point where they are pushing Joe Biden and his record. Okay.
Correct.
They are unabashedly and unashamedly telling other Republicans that they need to do the same thing.
Now they're saying that Biden is bipartisan. Everybody take a breath, hold on. They're not saying that Joe Biden is a Republican.
No, what they're saying is, though, that
He
Joe Biden
governs.
understands that he's everybody's president. So when Joe
Correct.
Biden passes legislation that helps the poor, you can't believe that only Democratic people are poor. When Joe Biden moves to protect Social Security, you got to understand that there are plenty of Republicans who live on Social Security too. You got to understand another thing. When a state that is a red state has a natural disaster, Joe Biden jumps to the aid immediately. He doesn't insult like Donald Trump did the governor, the legislature, and everybody else and drag his sweet ass time, getting any help to anybody. That's the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
So anyone who's been watching this show for a little while knows that I am a union representative. I don't really talk much about it other than to say, experience. There is a saying, when you make a deal and no one is completely happy, you know it's a right deal. He's not there to please people. He's there to get the right thing done. Now, Trump is all about catering to his base and stirring them up. So just understand that. And also, one thing Trump is about Trump, and the GOP right now is about Trump.
That's right.
It
They are
is.
basically, for those who aren't overtly supporting him verbally, those who are just cowering in the background so that they aren't seen, they're just as bad as those who are overtly supporting him.
And by the way, Trump considers them weak and spineless and blah, blah, blah. So this is a very good, quick little 2 minute video from the Lincoln Project. So just so you know, the cult of personality, not only does it breed fascists, it tends to consolidate power to that one person who is the quote unquote star, which right now in the GOP, it's Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump isn't the candidate, the GOP is lost. They don't know who's gonna take his place. Just so you know.
No, the
Uh,
closest thing they have right now is Nikki Haley. And for those of you who see her as maybe a kind of gentler, whatever the hell she is, she isn't. Okay. This is a woman who couldn't even mention that slavery was the reason for the Civil War, even though slavery was the reason for the Civil War.
and by the way, there was an article, and I'm not putting it in here. You can look for it if you want. There was an article that talked about Fox's hilarious uh, explanation and downplaying of Nikki Haley.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Oh,
They're doing plenty of downplay. And Sununu in New Hampshire,
right, right.
who has endorsed Nikki Haley, said she made a mistake. Look it. I don't know how you can omit slavery from the conversation in a mistake. I'm sorry, folks. Look, let's stop all the fucking nonsense. All right, okay, let's stop it.
And Fox News saying it's a gotcha question. You
Oh
guys are
my
bringing it
God.
up.
It's not a gotcha question if you admit to the fact that slavery existed. It's a very straightforward question to answer. But the fact of the matter is that the GOP are slavery deniers. They're COVID deniers. They're slavery deniers. They deny all of our history. God forbid, they don't even talk about Native American history. Hell no, they
Right.
don't want to talk about any of that.
None of this is funny. None of it. So I see articles saying, oh, hilarious reaction to Nikki Haley, you know, uh, not being able to say the word slavery. She's terrified of it because that feeds into CRT, which is nonsense.
And she's terrified of it because she knows if she says it, that Donald Trump's going to verbally attack her the next day. I mean, come on, people. Let's get real.
So everybody knows. So let's, before I go into the whole thing with Trump, the candidates right now, they're already asking Chris Christie to step down. Tim Scott already stepped down. There were a couple of minor players like Burgum and guys like that. Uh, you know, Mike Pence stepped. I don't even know if he ever declared, but
He
right
did.
now he did. But
Yeah,
he
he did.
stepped out. Vivek Ramaswamy. We have Nikki Haley, and we have Ron DeSantis. None of those are serious candidates by any stretch of the imagination. And neither is Trump, but he's serious because he's dangerous. So, so dangerous that he has been taken off the ballot, at least temporarily, in 2 states because of the insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment. So there's a couple of things here. Number one, the Supreme Court has to make a decision whether or not to hear the appeals case in the Colorado case. And there's talk about how politically fraught it is, blah blah blah. However, there are judges who have already said this is clear cut. By the way, retired judges and conservative judges,
The same
including
very judge who testified at the
Looted.
J6 committee.
Right.
Now, this article is recent, but Judge Ludwig came out right away and said
Right.
that Donald Trump was disqualified. This is a new article, but Ludwig has been clear from the beginning that Donald Trump is disqualified from running for president.
Now, so there we go. Hold on. We have, here is a little graph about where we're going with this. We have 2 states where Donald Trump has been taken off the ballot in the primary, Colorado and Maine. Oregon, there's a pending case. In Minnesota and Michigan, the initiative failed. So right now he's on the ballot for this is just for the primaries, by the way. This isn't
Right.
even the general yet.
Right.
So
By the way, make
what
no
is,
bones about this. These states have this right. Okay. They
yeah.
have the right.
So the pattern is uh, a state takes him off the ballot. Talking heads and Trump himself talks about how that's a weaponizing of the DOJ, how they're taking people's power away, blah blah
The
blah.
DOJ has nothing to do with this.
I know. And then what happens? There are threats to those judges and anybody involved in the cases.
Right.
Which, by the way, what do you think that does to any case against Trump when these judges are being threatened
By the way,
and swatted? Well, by the way, it's swatting.
and swatted. But the woman, by the way, who made the decision in Maine, her house was swatted.
Yes, it was, and it's in
And
here.
by the way, she is now facing impeachment. That's new.
Okay.
If anything
So,
is a political move, that is a political move, trying to impeach somebody for doing their job.
John Dean, after the Maine ruling, he says this is President Nixon's White House attorney. Okay, this is where we're going with this. You're going to say that he's too democratic? Here's Richard Nixon's attorney saying that Trump is too corrupt for even him. He defended Nixon, for God's sake. So just saying. So the decision in Maine was from Shanna Bellows. that he could be kept off the state's primary ballot, by the way. I put so this is a little thing from the Bulwark where these guys are also Republicans are saying that the Republicans really are tired of Donald Trump. Now, that's partly why we have Republicans pushing back and trying to push him out of the party. And this is the Lincoln Project. This was back in 2020. This was during the campaign, before the insurrection and before everything. They saw it. And again, they are Republicans. We're with them on this, but not with them on most other things.
And by the way, I do subscribe to the Bulwark. So, and that's a conservative, but they understand what's going on.
Right.
They're not by any stretch of the imagination your typical GOP outlet.
Now, Jamie Raskin says Clarence Thomas should recuse himself in any Trump ballot removal cases because he's too involved. Ginny Thomas is involved. That's his wife. He wants him to recuse himself.
Right. You see the subhead there? The question is, what do we do if he doesn't recuse himself?
Right. There is precedent because he did decide to take himself.
Holy shit, he is the most unpleasant looking human being on the fucking planet.
Death walrus.
Jesus Christ.
So he did recuse himself from another case, but here's the thing: there's so many cases out there. This is in regards to this is a Supreme Court case deciding whether or not the select committee, the January 6th committee, should have been able to obtain emails from John Eastman that the California attorney claimed were subject to attorney-client privilege. So this is the case that Thomas has already recused himself from. Maybe he'll recuse himself on the ballot cases, maybe not. This is completely different. This doesn't have anything to do with the election. So with this being a more directly effective case, he may decide not to do that. And you may ask yourself, what in God's green, what does Ron Johnson think of all this? Because when I think of anything, I think of what Ron Johnson thinks.
Do you?
No.
We are talking about a guy who was ready to deliver fake ballots, fake electors to Mike Pence.
Right.
It's been confirmed now by Chesbro, who's singing like a freaking lock right now.
So this is after the Colorado ruling. Radical leftism has infiltrated every institution, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Radical leftism is translated as, we translate now,
they caught us.
Holding people accountable as radical leftism. That's how fucking corrupt the GOP is now.
And then the next stage is FBI investigates threats against Colorado judges who ruled against Trump. And by the way, don't think that people wouldn't be beyond threatening Supreme Court justices either.
Oh, please. Yep.
Now the same exact thing happened in Maine. So it's happening to me again. Da, 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 da. So just so you know, I'll try to get back on screen share, but the same thing happened. Maine bars Trump from ballot as U.S. Supreme Court weighs state's authority to block former president. I don't They haven't decided whether or not to take the case, correct?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Right. So they don't. They're determining whether or not they're even going to weigh in on this thing. But
Or maybe they have. Maybe they have decided to take the case. I don't know.
I
I don't.
honestly
I
don't
think
know.
I think what they're not sure of is the immunity. They
Right.
didn't. They bowed out of the immunity. Said let the lower court decide. We're not going to take immunity right now. Uh,
Right.
they certainly can't, give him immunity. I mean, seriously, they would have to literally tell every president they can commit whatever crime they want while they're in office and they won't be held accountable for a thing. That's a whole different story. Somehow, I do think the Supreme Court is taking this. I think this case
Okay.
is a done deal.
Okay.
Yeah, the Supreme Court is weighing the state's authority. Yes.
Okay. However, Maine state official who removed Trump from the ballot, she was also swatted. And please understand again what swatting is. That is phone calls made from anonymous people to police making claims that a person is involved in violent behavior or whatever.
Or there's
Getting
been a
the
shooting, for example, Michelle Wu was swatted in
right,
Boston over the holidays simply because she's an Asian American who has the unmitigating gall to elevate people of color in this state. She was swatted. They reported a shooting at her home. But in the case of Michelle Wu, and it's unfortunate, the cops expect it. They showed up. They didn't disrupt anything at her house. She came out and talked to them, and everything was fine. But there's no reason for a public servant to have to expect to live like that. This is not the first time it's happened to Michelle Wu. Okay.
now I decided Deb and I talked about this, but I decided to put this in because I found something that made it a little more relevant. I have not seen a concerted effort. There's one or two people who have criticized Donald Trump, um, here and there. Some of them either resigned or voted out of office, but there's not a concerted effort to hold this man accountable by the Republican Party
Not at
by
all.
any stretch, not at all.
Not at all.
Now,
Every once in a while, Mitt Romney has something to say, takes a potting shot. He's running at the end anyway. He's not
right,
coming back. He's written a book now.
right.
These guys are all, they don't have anything to worry about now, so they can take their little shots here and there, just like he did at Santos.
McCarthy said something, and he pulled it back, retracted, then he'll hit Trump for a second, then he'll pull it back again. Enough. Now, you cannot say in the years that Deb and I have been doing this that we have not called out occasional Democratic corruption.
Yeah,
Compared to Republican corruption, they are outliers. I'm not
yeah.
saying I'm not saying they shouldn't be dealt with. They absolutely should be dealt with. I lived in Chicago for a number of years, and there was a corruption trial of a former Chicago alderman who was very popular and very powerful back in the day. It's Ed Burke. His federal corruption trial, he was 12 out of 13 out of 14 counts. Okay. We have racketeering, bribery, extortion. Hold on one second. And he was convicted. Okay. Um, and Democrats weighed in. Uh, Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who, by the way, has no dog in this hunt anymore because she's retired for now. I don't know if she's going to run again, but with this jury's verdict, Ed Burke should rightfully be remembered as a man who elevated personal ambition and greed over doing the people's work. So she's not in any by any stretch of the imagination defending this man, saying that it's weaponizing of the court system, any of that bullshit. Okay, there were a couple other people that have talked about it, But this is what uh this is what former or mayoral candidate and current Congressman Troy Garcia said. Today, the long history of corrupt Chicago politics righted itself. A man who abused his position of trust over 50 years, who manipulated the public for personal gain, was rightfully reprimanded. And by the way, I believe he's going to jail. I don't know what his, whatever.
He hasn't been sentenced yet, I don't think.
Yeah. Brandon Johnson, who is a Democrat, also said stuff talking about, elected officials are responsible for serving with honesty and integrity. If they fail to do so, it's imperative they be held accountable. That's what the jury decided today. Now, here's what the the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party said. He's saying the Birx case is an example of Illinois Democrat corruption at the highest levels of government, years of machine electioneering, pay-to-pay politics, insider dealings, and catering to special interests have driven working families out of Chicago, Illinois, blah, blah, blah. Increase the tax burden. So it's up to the Republicans to fix all of this.
Of course.
However, Illinois Republicans, this is the pantograph, Illinois Republicans vow to become relevant again and they deflect on Trump. Why is it always about Trump? Because you guys aren't holding Trump accountable. That's why.
Because you've turned your party over to a fascist dictator mobster. That's why. Okay. They have turned the GOP over to him. Okay. They will deflect on Trump. They're cowards, is what they are. They're political cowards.
Any Republican, most Republicans will say that they defend Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. There are a couple of guys in New York, they're doing the Pontius Pilate thing. They're like, oh, they're not really serious. Don't worry about them. We got them under control, blah, blah, blah. They're full of crap too. But most of these guys will defend Trump.
They have him under control? Is that why the Capitol was stormed? And,
exactly.
Come on. I mean, we're talking about corruption at the highest levels of government coming out of the mouths of the GOP, the people who literally incited people to break into the Capitol with zip ties and weapons with the intention of killing people, by the way. Let's not mince any words here. And not one of them showed up a year later to honor the Capitol Police. One man showed up from the GOP. The biggest snake of them all, as it turns out. I believe it was Kevin McCarthy was the only one that showed up that day. The rest of them didn't. And they've been doing nothing but defending him. And I'm supposed to listen to the drivel coming out of a GOP legislator's mouth in Illinois about corruption at the highest levels of government? Fuck you, okay? I'm tired of listening to these people.
So this goes to, I'm just going to touch on this. Understand, the GOP, Donald Trump cannot be allowed to retain power.
Ridiculous. That we're
even talking about it. However,
the American people shouldn't be allowing this right now, not just the courts. The American people should be done with this bastard.
It's not only him, it's the hundreds and hundreds of GOP candidates, not only in the House and the Senate, the federal House and the federal Senate, but also in state houses, in school boards, all of it.
But by the way, as long as we're talking about the federal government, and as long as we're talking about the election of November 2024, let me remind everybody that there are 170 MAGA people in office in the House alone. 170. Yep. You want that number again? All right. And there are still MAGA senators in office in the Senate.
And by the way, MAGA governors.
Yep.
Glenn Youngkin's one of them. Tate Reeves is another. You have Abbott. You have DeSantis.
DeSantis won't admit it, but he was spawned from Trump, no matter how you look at it.
And by the way, you cut the head off of one snake and another will pop his head up.
Yep.
So
it ain't just him. It's everybody behind him.
This starts now. This starts today because there is an election in South Carolina in 2 days, a general election for the South Carolina Senate 19. I can only do so much preparation. So here is a list of the general elections that are happening in state houses in January, February, or the first quarter of the year. It's happening right now. So
And
be
by the
aware.
way, all of these elections are important. I've said this and I'll say it again, all the way down to the school committee. You need to understand they're trying to infiltrate your school committees. Doesn't matter where you live. We have to still watch here in Massachusetts, as blue as we are.
And it's including, but not limited to, what Deb said, the two candidates for Michigan's two empty state house seats. These have to go back to the Democrats to maintain that trifecta. All right. When people move,
So don't say that these, we always hear, and the media does this too, less important elections. These are not less important elections.
no,
They're not. Not anymore, they're not.
don't worry, I'm not forgetting the special election for Santos, but it's not the only one, but that is important as well. And there's something in here for that. We did talk about an infiltrator and an interloper in the Democratic Party trying to take over, just so you know. But yeah. To end this, I want to remind people that Deb and those in our group, we have been working on this for since what, 2018.
Yep.
And we have two websites. One is a Facebook group, which is the Blue Tsunami, and we have a number of Facebook groups if Deb wants to promote them. And also here's the Blue Tsunami group.
So let me just talk about the Blue Tsunami group for a minute, because it is pretty clear that this group is a non-posting group.
What the?
So
how am I not in that group?
Well, you should be, because
I just joined again.
All right,
that's weird.
All right, so
maybe I was bounced out. I don't know.
Now I'm at the point now where I understand that nobody is paying attention to what I'm saying to them when they post here. This is a non-posting group. I put ads in for Democratic candidates that you join the group so that you can share. This is a sharing only group. Okay, can you scroll down a little? So go a little further. I wouldn't even put that in, but that's me. All right, these are what we put in here. All right, what we don't want are a bunch of memes and posts that people have to scroll past to get to candidates. These are all candidates, and people can post comments, by the way, if they know something's coming up to promote them, if they know some of the people who are running against her and have information, they can post. We are also posting, go down one more. We are posting their website so you can view their website.
Right.
But most of these are candidate promotions. These are things that you can download off this Facebook page and share on other venues. I share all of these in Tribal, Spoutable. I share them everywhere, every day. All right. And this is what I'm asking people to do. Share them once in a while, because only a few hundred people see what you post in a day. It's not like you think. You're not having millions of people see this stuff. They're not all on at the same time. And this is important, okay? It's important to share these things. This woman is running against, she can take Florida here. She can help us out in Florida.
Voldemort.
She's running against Rick Scott.
AOC.
We've got them for a bunch of them.
Is Sherrod Brown. And by the way, you keep seeing articles that say, the Democrats' Senate is in peril, blah, blah, blah. These are the people that are, most vulnerable, blah, blah. Don't listen to that, please.
Just
We
get
have to
people
take
out to
all of
vote.
this.
You know
Just
what?
go out to vote.
Here's all you need to know for statistics. If you come out at 52 to 55%, the GOP can win. And they showed that by winning the House, okay, during the midterms. If you come out at 60%, the Democrats will win at a landslide. If you come out at 70%, you know what? You'd never have to worry about this Republican Party again. All right? We are.
Oh, by the way, this just reminded me. I wanted to bring this up too. The GOP always comes up with bullshit, rebuttals. They're trying to say that because Kamala Harris helped post bail for some of the people who were protesting for George Floyd, that she's an insurrectionist. Okay, stop already. Come on. Do
I
we really
can't.
need a definition? I think we do because I remember the Tennessee Three. They
Right,
were accused of an insurrection as well.
right.
Here is the Factivist Project website,
Which is in sorely need of update.
and I understand that, but I do want to say that a lot of what we're talking about,
This is still accurate and relevant.
it's still
Reject the
accurate and
GOP as a third.
relevant.
Yep.
So I know Deb's going to be working on this
Yes, I
throughout the
am.
year,
Yep.
especially with the elections and all of that.
Yep.
But this is this is what we are going to be working on because talking about the issues are fine, but you can't do anything about the issues until you get the obstructionists out
Right.
and you get violent fascists out as well.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to get everybody out. I understand that. Everybody's talking about let's flush the GOP. That's the ultimate goal, but don't give up. When we all, this one won.
Look
Yeah,
at this is going to take multiple cycles. Okay.
yeah,
The
it
goal
is.
here is in 2024, we need the House back convincingly. We need the Senate to expand. Okay. There's no question about this. And we need the White House. All right. This is an issue of retaining our ability to govern here. All right. You've seen with the House in the hands of the GOP, there is no governance going on here. And everything beyond the House is stymied by their antics. It's as simple as that. Whatever the Senate has been able to do to get around it, they've been able to do to get around it. But this is, you should have known when they said that the GOP took the House that this mess was going to happen. I don't know why anybody thinks anything else was going to happen. They own the House. Okay? Now, they've removed Santos. Okay? Some people have left, and we have a golden opportunity here. We need the New York election going into 2024. Regardless of the fact that that person will have to run again, you're going in as an incumbent versus a challenger. We need to take that seat now. This is
And
not a joke.
I live in New York second district. I sure as hell can help with the New York third, but I can't vote in that particular district. But
Right.
whoever's in that district, please, please, in the name of God, go vote. Don't fall into the same trap over and over again. Oh, it won't happen again. It can't happen again. The GOP is running an interloper against Swazi. Okay, I can't remember her name, but we've talked about her. They will do anything that they can to retain power, including protecting their own and DJT.
Yep.
Right now, Donald J. Trump is the head of the snake. And he tried to keep power.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no question about it. Okay, there isn't. There should be no question by now. All right. By the way, in closing, I forgot one Democrat who destroyed his career by jumping into a fountain with the stripper that he was having an affair with. Anybody remember Wilbur Mills?
I don't remember him.
Okay, he was a senator from Arkansas, and he was on the United States House Committee on Ways and Means. He was pretty powerful, but that was all it took. His career was done for. It
Not
was
anymore. He'd have a freaking internet show now.
Oh yeah, no shit. He'd be a freaking internet influencer right now if he was still around. He was on this scandal, by the way, was on the Bloomberg list of top 10 sex scandals in American history. I just have to let you know. She was a freaking stripper, Fannie Fox. That's who he
Okay.
was having an affair with. So that destroyed his career. Now, in comparison, we have a man who literally raped a woman, then defamed her again, and he's being sued by her again. He has incited an insurrection. He is about to lose his business in New York. He stole government documents and left them in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. And everybody's rallying the troops behind him like this is his right as an American citizen.
And by the way, what about the old days when, bribing a porn star to not say anything about their sexual escapades would have been enough?
Right, right, exactly.
What was her name? Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels.
Okay.
I mean, this guy is a walking shitbag. All right. And he is still standing. That says something
Literally,
about where
by the
we
way,
are as a nation.
again, I'm not making a huge point of this, but he smells like it too. Okay. The point being, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about other people around him.
He
He
doesn't.
smells heinous and he does not care. He just wants his steak or he wants to hang out or whatever
Right.
in public places. And by the way, this is not Adam Kinzinger talked about it. I didn't put an article in here. I didn't want to make a big issue of it. But the point is, he doesn't care about the people around him. How in the hell can you be a public servant when you don't even care about that? Same thing with Lauren Boebert, with her groping her boyfriend. I don't care if he's a Democrat, Republican, whatever. She talks about, family values and is like, getting a little touchy feely in a movie theater.
There's a little more than that.
I
mean,
know, but
you
I'm
can
I'm
hold
trying to
hands in a
be
movie theater, but there's a
right,
difference when you're touching each other's junk in the middle of the fucking thing
right,
and laughing. Give me a break, people. Get a room. But it's as
right.
simple as that.
Or you know, what is it? It's not gay if it's a threesome. The Zieglers. I mean,
Yeah, the Zieglers and
listen
the Moms for Liberty.
again. I don't care what you guys do, but that man who was the RNC chair of Florida, he's been accused of rape now.
Right. And the woman who canceled them told him that she's canceling because she was actually in it only for his wife. No, people, okay? They have
Right.
sex tapes of these people. All right. What is it that you don't see about this? I'm more, I guess I'm talking more to the MAGA people now, but whatever. They can't have, I can't even, I don't even get it. I don't get it.
And
I
again,
really don't.
it's the whole Pushaw effect. They do it, they need to go to hell. We do it, oh, you're just bashing us.
Right.
It's
Right.
deflection, deflection, deflection to the point where it's just so outrageous that you can't deny it anymore.
Right.
And by the way, these allegations of Trump smelling go back as far back as 1983. So we're not talking about health issues. We're talking about human being, decency issues.
Right.
I
Yep.
mean, I don't even know. I don't know what to say anymore.
Yep.
When it comes to that stuff. And you're saying, Biden's too old.
listen to me.
I mean,
Donald
come on.
Trump is 3 years younger than Joe Biden, essentially.
Right.
Okay. He is a man who has a problem. Okay. He has a problem in that they have shown that he has to have lifts under his feet when he stands on stage because he rocks back and forth.
Right.
You know, he has got a number of problems. He thinks he beat Barack Obama. He forgets stuff. He says stuff that's unbelievable and is inaccurate, and no one says a word. No one says a word.
And prior, he was a narcissist, a criminal, a misogynist, all of that, but let's just sweep all that under the rug because, he's who he is.
Right.
Again, cult of personality.
Right.
And cult of personality very often leads to fascism. So
Right.
let's just push him off the stage. Whatever happens, happens. And then, that's step number one. Step number two is to make sure whatever, heinous individual they come up with that runs against Biden doesn't get in.
Right.
That's step number two. Then we're talking about the House and the Senate and all the court system, school boards, all of that.
Right.
There is a trickle down effect. You can't affect change locally without dealing with the top either. So, I mean, we're just starting to flush out some of these judgeships.
Right. And by the
So,
way, in closing,
yeah,
I see things on Facebook. I make posts and I say, that's not good enough. We need to reform the court. You know what? You want all that stuff done. This is all right here. We need to reform the court. We need to, codify Roe. You want all that done? There's only one path to that. There's only one path to that. None of that's going to happen with the present electorate the way it is right now. It's not going to happen with the GOP in control of the House, and it's not going to happen with a one-seat advantage in the Senate. We've said this over and over and over again. All right. The Senate should never have been as close as this in 2022, and the House should never have been lost. And I'm going to maintain that. I don't want to hear about gerrymandering. I don't. Because if the Democrats came out to the full capacity of their registered voter numbers, we can overcome a lot of things that go on the Republican side for one simple reason. The conservatives are not in the majority in America. They have to be able to cheat, and they have to have a complacent Democratic voter base to allow that to happen. We need to stop that.
and not only complacent, but you see what happened in New York. Again,
Infighting, that shit's
infighting.
the death knell.
It happened in California. It happened in New York. Ego is another thing.
Put
Oh,
it away.
nobody's going to take us. We have too much of a majority.
Yeah. Well, we did that once in Massachusetts too after Ted Kennedy died. Ted Kennedy, who held that seat for 46 fucking years. Okay. But let me just tell you something. When it came to the election after his death, a Republican won because the Democrats here get fat and lazy. And they assumed that the Democrat was going to win. And we ended up with Scott Brown. And it took Elizabeth Warren and a lot of work to knock him out.
Right. And by the way, that's how we got George Santos too.
Right.
And
So
do not under any circumstance think that Tom Suozzi is a lock. Don't
you need to vote.
vote. One thing, when we get past all of that, there are some things that I want to talk about, like later in the year, and Deb and I have talked about it. Is about how to become more civics minded. You're not going to get everything that you want. However, if there's an issue or if there's something that bothers you or upsets you, and this is something like down the road, sin tax, SIN tax, taxes on cigarettes. If you're a smoker in New York, you're not happy right now. But understand there are reasons for taxation, and there are ways to deal with it. I'm probably going to be talking about, and no, it's not about breaking the law either. Oh, I'll just get so and so to mail me, you know, 12 packs of smokes from blah blah blah. No, that's illegal, just
Yep.
so you know.
Yep.
Or I'll just drive to so and so to the other state. Sometimes that might work, but it all depends on where you are. It's not the most economical or the easiest thing in New York, especially if you live on Long Island like me, because you got to cross bridges and pay tolls and all that. One more thing, Massachusetts, when they passed their tax, what they did is they would camp around the borders. They stopped doing this supposedly, but they would see guys with Massachusetts plates buying cigarettes and follow them back to the back across the border and make them pay the tax anyway.
Yep.
There's little stickers on there that show which state they're from.
That's right.
That's not for advertisement purposes. That's for tax purposes. So you may not like it. I sure as hell don't like it because of, but there are ways to counteract that. Either reduce your intake or find alternate ways. Um, there are Native American reservations, that kind of thing. And I'll get into it later, but don't just complain and say, oh, well, what about the Democrats? They tax us to death. Or what about this? Or what
There's a
about that?
reason for
There's a
syntaxes on this,
reason for
okay?
syntax.
There's a reason for this
There
stuff.
are.
Okay,
There are.
cigarettes are killing people.
Now, so are guns. And guess
Yep.
what?
Yep. That's exactly right.
Guess what? The Republicans are pushing to make all taxes on guns unconstitutional.
Right. Because it's a violation of the Second Amendment.
No, actually, it's not.
I know it's not, but that's what they're going to say.
Yeah, and it's actually been determined in some courts that it is.
Right.
So, and yes, cigarette smoke kills people, secondhand smoke kills people, but a bullet sure as hell is quicker.
Right.
So, but I'll be going into in depth on stuff like that, on stuff like socially conscious stock investments, things of that nature, things you can do and beyond voting.
Right.
Some of you guys don't have, money to invest in anything other than, your dinner, and I understand that, but if anybody does purchase stuff, there's ways to research products, and we should. Deb has been preaching this since we met. You There's ways to be a conscientious uh
Purchaser.
consumer.
You know,
There are ways to do it.
I know it's hard to break
Takes work.
Yeah, it's hard to break the buy-in habit with Amazon. But you know what? I bought everything from Amazon at one point. I haven't touched Amazon for 12 years. I don't have Amazon Prime. I don't stream any movies through them. I don't do anything with them.
Right.
And you know what? I'm fine. It's not taking me any longer to get anything I need. So
Right.
it's not as difficult as people think. All right. That's all we're saying. We have some other things we can talk about moving forward, but we're going to focus by and large on the election because that's what's coming.
Yep.
Are we good?
Yep.
We're good.
Happy New Year, everybody. Same as the old year.
Yep. Yep. Happy New Year. We are about to enter the most consequential year in American history. That is no lie. We all need to have all hands on deck. So we will talk to you soon.